Welcome back to Big Brave Business. I'm your host, Sarah K. Heater. Big Brave Business is a podcast where we challenge the status quo of traditional business practices. So if you're ready to challenge norms, rewrite the rules, and redefine what it means to lead with courage and integrity, then grab a notebook and let's dive in. Welcome back to Big Brave Business. I think it's actually so funny that I still intro the episodes that way because I used to do that, if you've been listening for a while, with Amanda back in season 1. And we used to kind of tease each other about the fact that we always led episodes in like that. And she was like, no, but I love it. It feels like tradition. And so now I still do it. So anyways, welcome back. My guest today is AnnMarie Rose. AnnMarie is a life-proof business scaling strategist with nearly a decade of experience helping coaches, consultants, and service providers leverage their zone of genius to scale their businesses with clarity, confidence, and strategic intention. She and her team have helped hundreds of business owners navigate growth mode with ease by aligning their business model to their vision, refining their offer suite and positioning, streamlining their marketing and sales systems, and dialing in an A-player team so they can elevate their impact and income without overwhelm, chaos, or burnout. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
So I bet another thing that you get about your name a lot is Schitt's Creek. So
my brother-in-law is literally named David Rose. So he gets it far more than I do.
That's so funny. Yeah, it didn't click immediately when you're like, my last name is Rose. And then as I was reading your bio, I was like, wait.
He has a lot of Rose apothecary paraphernalia. I'm excited.
I bet. Oh, that's really funny. Okay, so that's definitely not
I do love that show.
I love a couple of obviously different elements of your bio here. We're meeting for the first time, which is exciting and fun. I love that about this podcast. You get to meet so many cool people. But
can I just say, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. I love that you didn't say my good pal AnnMarie, because how many podcasters do that where they're like, my good buddy, and I'm like, your good buddy that you met because they filled out a form to come on your podcast.
Yeah, sometimes it is somebody who's a friend, and then I'll say that. So if you hear me say that, it's true. But yes, otherwise, and then sometimes after these conversations, because they go some intense places, then by the time I write the show notes for the episode, I'll be like, my new friend.
Yeah. I can already tell. We're gonna be fast friends.
Yes. Now we are going to be friends, but this is new. This is brand new. So learning about you is new to me as well. And there's a lot of things in here that I think are, of course, really intriguing. For one thing, I'm curious, how long have you been in business?
Oh, let me do the math. I started working for myself full-time in 2016, but it looked very different. It was, I'm doing done-for-you marketing services for anyone who pay me so I don't have to go find another job at a marketing agency, basically. And then through that, it iterated and I realized, there's a lot of smaller business owners who are they're doing more and more and more marketing, and they're actually building themselves businesses that feel like complete prisons to them, winding up in absolute burnout, needing to take months on end sabbaticals, marriage is ruined, whatever. I want no part of that, let alone doing the work that's fueling that, fueling the growth of the business that is tearing them apart. So people need deeper business strategy. When they get to a certain point, they figured out some of what works and what doesn't. Why don't we craft an intentional vision for where they want to take this thing, where they want to take the impact that they're leaving, the way that they're working in their business, and actually get intentional about not just the marketing that's getting the eyeballs on the business, but the business itself. So it needs to be both. So that work really just being purely focused on strategy and doing it from more of a holistic business standpoint and scaling, that started around 2019.
So that is part of how I knew you'd been in business for a while from your bio. And also it really stands out and speaks to me because I also like to approach things strategic. I just saw this on Threads that apparently the word strategy has become a buzzword that doesn't mean anything. People are saying eliminate it from your copywriting. I'm like, what? Because to me, I feel like approaching things from a strategic standpoint is actually what sets what I do apart. I help people start, grow, and monetize podcasts. And I think at this point, you can find an editor or a podcast manager anywhere, which was not true when I started my business. I still had to explain to people what a podcast was before I could sell podcast services back in 2019. But I still feel like what sets me apart is that we are approaching things from a strategic standpoint. And I think most podcast editors and managers are not. They're more getting the
Implementing.
task done. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And you
So,
can tell when someone's strength is more on the implementation
yeah.
side, at least as a strategist. It's very easy to tell when someone's strengths are
Yes.
more on the implementation side, or, because I wear the hat of all of my clients would tell you I'm their coach. I most frequently refer to myself as a consultant or strategist. Um,
Same.
you can hire the coach you're gonna get in your feels and you're gonna feel good and you're gonna walk away feeling good. And their intentions were to just kind of keep you in that like high vibe element more than help you strategize from a business standpoint or help you be intentional about your mindset. And it's not so much the strategy side of things, where that's like the thing I can do in my sleep is
Yeah.
what's the outcome we're going for? Who are you? What are your circumstances? And then how do we need to arrange our roadmap to get you there in a way that really each and every step we take is building momentum into the next. That's how I think of strategy.
Yeah, yeah, same.
Yeah.
So yes, I kind of got that vibe from your bio and just chatting with you a little bit before we hit record anyway. And then the other thing that kind of stands out that I was like, you've been in business for a while is the way you describe your team. So I'm curious, like, how big is your team? How does that look? What is that like?
I love this question because my team is super lean. It is me and my right hand goddess of all things behind the scenes. And of course, I have like a CPA and accountant, and then my husband helps with some things here and there. But it's me and Crystal for the most part. And that's been my lean team for years now. Occasionally, I'll bring in other consultants from time to time, like copywriter here and there or whatever. But in terms of consistent team on a day-to-day basis, it's the two of us, and it works beautifully.
So there's a lot of things I think about your business and what you do that I'm nosy about, but I think that'll kind of come out naturally. So let's just get into like the meat and potatoes of the thing and
Yeah.
say where you are right now, like 8 years into your business. What does being big and brave in your business look like in this season of your business?
This is such a juicy question to ask me this week in particular.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, today in particular, because I've had something in the back of my mind. And we were talking a little bit before we started. I'm an Enneagram 8. So my tendency is to almost like want to think I know it all and want to think I've got it all figured out, or really feel like my shadow self is that feeling I need to have it all figured out for everybody else so I can be the strong one,
Mm,
right? And for years, I've mastered a whole lot in business. Okay. Offer delivery, mastered it. Messaging, mastered it. Even lean team building, mastered it. Mastered a lot. The one thing that is very painfully clear, you can look at all my data, I have not mastered is audience building, audience and community building.
mm,
And just being perfectly transparent, my revenue has suffered as a result
mhm,
because I just kept wanting to strong arm my way, doing more of the things I've mastered, scalable sales, master that. All these things I've mastered, I just wanted to keep focused on those things because it felt good, because I knew those, because I'm good at those,
mm,
and have avoided mastering this skill for the entirety of my business.
mhm,
And that is a very obvious gap that's
mm,
costing me a lot of money right now. And honestly, from an impact standpoint, it's costing the people who need to know about what I do and the way
mhm.
I do it money, because they're going and investing in other people that aren't serving them as well as I would.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting part of building a business and scaling a business because, and the kind of long-term thought, I think there are people out there who kind of coach and advise on audience building and they talk about doing it first. And for me, that didn't make sense. And I will say this until the cows come home. Like I will literally never stop talking about this, that if you start a business, your first goal is not audience building. Your first goal is closing a sale. Like you have
Yeah.
to start making money and you have to start making money right away. Building an audience takes a long time, is a long game. It's a permanent game. You do it forever. And it's ultimately, yes, going to make you significantly more money. It's going to take a really long time to get to the point where you are making really good money from it. In the meantime, you need to make money right away. So
Mhm.
when I started my business, it came from like personal connections. And there is some community building aspect in this, as far as I went to my entire community and I just told everyone, this is what I'm doing now. If you or anyone you know wants to start a podcast, please send them to me. And these were people who already knew me, trusted me, knew my work ethic, knew not necessarily me with podcasting, some people, because I had done it as part of my 9 to 5, but they trusted me. So they sent me people. And then when they got results, they sent me people. And I was able to build a multi-6-figure business off of just that. And being able to scale beyond that requires audience building and community building. So I am right there with you. I hear you. And I think that this is so important. So if you're listening to this and you are not as far into business, and if you're further, then I mean, you can tell us, but
I mean, you can get a long way with
you really
your
can.
effort.
And
You really
depending on
can.
what your goals are of how far you're trying to scale to, because there's a lot of people who, where you and I have gotten to in our businesses, might look like their dream, like kind of destination for business. So I think depends what you want to scale to as well. One of my goals is ultimately that I can sell this company. So building a company I can sell. In order to sell it, I need significantly more revenue. Like my target right now is to 8x the revenue where I am right now. To 8x where I am right now, it can't be built off referrals. Like
Yeah,
now we're
it can't
talking a
look the
way
same.
larger scale.
Yeah, it can't look the same over. And I mean, I have clients who their goal is also to sell. And even though, I mean, I also have another business, we don't need to get into that, where the goals are very different. That is to sell. I don't have any intention of selling this particular business, but I have clients who come to me with those same goals, and it does need to look very, very different. The goal has to be eventually basically removing you from all necessary day-to-day activities. And it is very different. And one thing I will say, it's so interesting that you said that a lot of people will give the recommendation, build the audience first. If you are, this is where strategy comes in. Strategically looking into like who's giving that advice, it's oftentimes people who started a blog for funsies or started an Instagram account for funsies or to make a little extra as a side hustly thing. And they happened upon the audience. It came because that was kind of that was the point of it. But they were doing it while they were at a corporate job, or they were doing it in whatever scenario. It didn't start out as this big, massive business vision. And so, but then they move into this role as business coaches and they say, build the audience first. But that's not helpful advice in every scenario. If you're not in a position that's similar to where they were, for me, like I said, it was either go get another job
Mm-hmm.
or find clients or get evicted from your downtown San Diego apartment. So I chose to go
Exactly.
find clients.
Exactly. That's what I say all the time. I had to keep a roof over my kids' heads.
Yeah.
That's like that.
Yeah.
So rent is due on the first. Like you gotta find money. Like it's gotta
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
who's gonna pay me? And that's how you start. I think, and this would be interesting to kind of hear from people listening if this is an accurate assumption. I think that most people who are listening to this are not just started. They are in business. They've been in business. I think there is a variety, but I think most people are past that initial like, hey, somebody pay me. And then they're getting to kind of similar to growing pains that you and I are in. So I'm curious, number one, when you think of audience building and community building, like what do you, if you were doing that really well, if you were mastering that, what would that look like for you?
Mhm. Creating consistently in a way that feels really good to me and it getting significant reach beyond my warm audience. And I mean, I'm doing those things. It's just not getting the reach that I need. So it's a little bit of starting to play the game. Like anyone can go to my Instagram and see I put a lot of intention into my content. Like
Mhm.
I will break down full strategies. I leave heartfelt messages. I get personal. I'll get vulnerable. I'll do all the things. There's an element of that is great, that is better. It's better for nurture content. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to get me the most reach. And I am good with the nurture stuff, but I need to be a little more game playing, if you will, when it comes to doing the thing that is going to get the eyeballs right now. And not I don't believe it's you can do that and you can't like still creatively express yourself, or that you have to like compromise your integrity by any stretch of the imagination. I just
Mhm.
do it. So it's that for me is like being a little more sciency about it. I tend to like to do content more like with the art in mind, and I've been in this world long enough that I know like what kind of CTA to put, like all
Right.
those things just come naturally to me. But okay, what's the thing that's actually going to get someone to move from a 7-second reel to your profile? Or what's the thing that's going to actually get a lot of likes today because that's actually going to pump it out to more people and get more of the right eyeballs. And I have to do a little bit of that more. And it
Yeah.
just has been something that I've resisted over the years and I think some of it's from that. I don't know if you experience that. I'm sure somebody can relate to that. This, when you're like in high school or those formative years, it's like you don't want to try too hard to be the popular one.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of that conditioning that's like, I always told myself like I didn't care about being popular, I just cared about being me. And that's how I've always thought of things. And I was never gonna be the popular one anyways. I was like the nerdier one who talked too much usually. And like I was voted most original in high school, which I think was just people's a nice way of being like biggest weirdo. So, anyways, it it I think that's what I always told myself that playing the game is like playing into this popularity contest with when it comes to content. I just didn't want to do that. And I've really started to flip the script for myself. And it's not about popularity, but it is about influence. And when we are here to create a meaningful impact, prioritizing influence at a certain point does need to become a priority.
I feel that a lot. I think what's interesting is, first of all, how much of what you said I'm like, yes, yes. And then also some things are definitely different because we have different goals and different paths and different businesses, right?
Yep.
What we're doing is different. But I do think that a couple things stand out. Number one, I was reading, I think, a thread conversation about this concept that marketing is experimentation. And so I think that a lot of what you're talking about needing to kind of play the game more is like the science behind what to do, quote unquote. But then there's a certain amount of experimentation that you kind of just have to see what
Yep.
works. And then also, of course, the algorithms are always changing, right? So what works in different places and different times is going to vary. You're your own person. Your offer is your own offer. Who you're trying to reach is your own thing. So even knowing kind of like the scientific steps of what to do, there's still a level of experimentation that you just kind of have to try. So that's coming up for me. And then another thing that I've been feeling is yes, all the same things. And I think, oh, you mentioned about kind of an aversion to being the popular one. I think there's also something to be said for I just recently saw a thread that I spend too much time on threads that somebody was
Same feeling.
saying that is it just them or do you trust the accounts that have a couple thousand followers more than the accounts that have 100,000 followers? And I thought that that was an interesting thing because I think so many of us that have small, like I have a teeny audience, right? I like, we're talking like 1,500 followers on Instagram, and that's my most concentrated social media audience. So I feel like there are those of us who have small audience that are like, wow, it would be so nice to have like massive reach. But
Yep.
at the same time, no. So I think that's interesting. It's a balance, but
Yeah.
I also it's so time consuming, right?
Mhm.
Like it's a full-time job to be content creating. And so you
Oh,
you specifically were mentioning social media as part of increasing your reach and being
yep.
kind of like a focus area. Obviously, there's a lot of ways. That's why I part of why I asked, like, what does it look like for you?
Yeah.
So I
And I
think
have I can expand on that further if
yeah,
you want.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and then one of the other things that, at least if we're just talking about like practical, something I'm focused on this year is JV workshops with people who have related audiences but don't do the same thing. So, like CPA, a mindset, a highly trained mindset coach, someone who specializes in more like social media offer promotion. Those are not things that I necessarily specialize in, especially not a CPA. I'm absolutely not a CPA, but they have seasoned business owners in their audience who could benefit from
Mhm.
the workshops that I teach. So partnering up with them, hosting workshops for their communities,
Mhm.
selling my offer in the back on the back end and doing a revenue share of that. Also that kind of a twofold thing. It helps with sales and also helps me reach more of the right people. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's a mix. And I love that you brought up experimentation because that I think is ultimately for me what is requiring some bravery for me. I've always
Mhm.
had this thing, and I've definitely worked through it a lot over in recent years, that almost felt like an experiment is a waste of time. Why not like get it done right the first time, if you will? And I'm at this point where you just realize like that's just not life. It's just not life is an experiment. And I don't know what I probably like need to do some more processing around this. Maybe I don't know what I've been so afraid of, but it is a little bit of that. Like I want to have it figured out so that I can help everybody else figure it out and so that I can be the solid one. And so there's always been this like, well, if I'm in experiment mode, then won't it be like pure chaos for everyone else? Or will I not be able to hold everyone else's experimentation struggles or whatever? It's not true. Like I trust myself enough now. And so I'm really feel like I'm in a place I actually wrote down as you were talking, because I know this is my year of like big time expansion and expand through experimentation.
Yeah.
That's my theme.
Yes. I think just like life is experimentation, life is also, universe willing, it is also a long game. And I think I preach this so much with podcasting, but I think this is true in business in general, which is like we have to, I posted a thread about this recently, but we have to kind of get out of our own way of being so attached to the results of like individual posts or an individual episode or whatever, and think more in terms of quarter over quarter, year over year, how are things going? And when we're thinking in those like big picture, long term things, that's where real impact is happening anyway. Like the chances that you're going to make, and just using social media since that's mainly what we've been talking about, the chances that you're going to make a social media post, any kind, that's going to have any kind of long term lasting impact is minimal to zero, right? Like, so instead of being so hung up on like how much reach did this one reel get, which a lot of us can get, it feels bad, right? Especially if you put a lot of time and effort into it. And if it feels like being really big and brave to show your face and to like kind of put yourself out there in that way, which for some of us, that is really hard. To do that and then get 37 views or something feels sad, even when it's still like 200 views. It's like, this does not feel good. When the
Right.
reality is, if you stood up and said whatever you said in that reel in front of 200 people, it would actually feel like a huge reach, but that's besides the point. Like, I think that we're so conditioned to expect these big viral numbers that it can be just really hard to see what we would deem as a small number. And that is just thinking so micro, like think macro instead, like
Yeah.
what's the overall big picture?
And I mean, the truth is like a lot of our bigger favorite accounts that we might follow, it was actually one or two posts that kind of got them to pop off, but they weren't sitting there obsessing knowing that was going to be the one, right? I always think
Yeah.
of this interior designer that I follow on TikTok and Instagram, and she, like, the thing that made her blow up was like interior design styles that aren't farmhouse. And it just like took off, but she had a bunch of other videos like that. It was just like people latched onto that one. And so you're exactly right that sitting and obsessing over, is this one gonna go be the one that blows up or whatever, that's just gonna keep you like creatively constipated, basically.
Yeah.
So just showing up and committing to showing up and knowing that, some of us are meant to have like that gradual, slower build. Some people are gonna pop off, but it's that devotion to the work. It's devotion to the craft.
It makes me think of that quote too, that people don't remember what you said or did. They remember how you made them feel. So I think the people who your favorite follows on social media, you might remember specific posts, but rather than think about, oh, I love them because one time they posted about design styles that aren't farmhouse, instead it's like, no, I love this person because the way they present whatever information resonates with me, because like they make me feel this. And especially in the midst of doom scrolling, like this is what I want my feed to look like and this is why, right? So I think focusing more on like, you're not going to necessarily have that impact from one post, you're going to have that impact from sustained posting over time that's going to create an overall impression for a person who follows you. And that's really, I think, at the crux of like social media building. Of course, this is coming from a conversation between two people who like aren't thriving in social media.
In terms of like the audience, we're not like talking with 200,000 or 2 million followers here.
Yeah. But I think though, with the with the scope of the point is to grow your business, I'm curious. Okay, so the first question was like, what would that look like if you were thriving, right? If you were mastering that. So if that's what it would look like if you were thriving and mastering, then what would you do with that? Like, what would that mean for your business?
Uh, here's what I tell myself. I don't know if it's true. We'll see. We'll talk to me
Sure. Yeah,
when I
that's a
on the ice.
big point. I don't know if it's true.
I mean, major, that's the major gap. So I feel like business would be at a really like ultimate freedom place, to be honest. Because I can sell in a way that feels good to me, that's scalable, got that down. My offers are, I mean, I'll just toot my own horn here because I think we all need to do it more. Like, they're amazing. They get people incredible results. They're thoughtful. They're not the one that the type of offer that you get in and you're like, well, that was a whole lot of marketing and a whole lot of nothing on the other side. No, because I've done it basically the opposite way.
Yeah.
That's why I am where I am. And needing to focus on more of the marketing stuff. So and in terms of speaking my ideal client's language, knowing exactly who I'm wanting to attract more of, because I'm already working with those people, I feel like it would be real smooth sailing. And of course, there's always going to be things that come up, but I do feel like that's where like the true feeling of business freedom for me would come in, because impact is so important to me.
Yeah.
I could right now, sometimes if I have the knowing that people need some new solution, I question if it's going to be worth my time to create it, because I know the volume of my audience, it's not going to lead to that significant of, I mean, significant for me, right?
Right.
Change my bottom line
Right.
and I'm a mom. And so I need to also determine like where I'm spending my time. I need to really be mindful of that.
Yep.
So I think I would lean into more like, what would you do if all the cards were stacked into in your favor kind of things,
Yeah.
because I would know like the response on the other side.
Yeah.
There's the volume to support it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I think for me, audience building is something that just plain wasn't part of my priority in the beginning of my business. I sort of thought it's okay that it's slow and it's a long game. I'm just going to keep posting and adding value, but mainly what I'm focused on is like quote unquote real relationship building.
Yeah,
Like the
100%.
people who are working with me, get them good results and then ask for referrals. And that was just my focus for a long time. That got me pretty far and it allowed me to start to expand my team, etc. Last year, I rolled out a membership and now I'm trying to think like, did I actually roll this out in 2023? Yes. Okay. So in 2023, I rolled out a membership. We were going to go hard on the membership in 2024. That was the plan.
Mhm.
So I have my core offer is like a high level done for you kind of, I'll say one-on-one type of offer. But when I say that, it feels weird to refer to it that way because sometimes it's co-hosts for a podcast, right? So it's like two on one. And then
Sure,
that
sure.
sounds like you're trying to be weirdly specific. So, anyways, but it's essentially a like personalized, like very custom, very high touch, very manual, done for you service provider offer, right? And knowing that that is not scalable because there are only so many hours I have in the day. So we can only go to a certain point before I'm at capacity. And yes, I can hire out different aspects of is how I started hiring, right? Hiring out different aspects of providing that service, extra editing support, VA, so on and so forth, that can help me with some of the lifting to be able to take on more. There's still an upper limit, right? Like at
Great.
some point, you're at capacity.
Mhm.
So that part of the idea last year was the membership will allow us to be mission driven, but serve a lot more people in a opportunity to serve them all at once, right? But it wasn't super successful from the standpoint of, like you're saying, high impact, great value. People who were in it had access to like truly content I am truly proud of that I know is high impact support. And there weren't that many people in it, just point blank. Like
Right.
it wasn't a thriving community from the standpoint of the community aspect was very small. The participation in anything live was very small. So I was putting just as many hours into providing service and selling an offer that was $50 a month as I was into providing service and offering services that are up to $3,000 a month.
Right.
And
Right.
honestly, like, then I'd rather make $3,000 a
Yeah.
month. So we shifted away from that. I feel like now that's a big shift in 2025 and beyond for me is that now we've brought on account managers. They do my sales calls, not mine, their own. They do sales calls for my company. They close their own accounts. They manage those accounts, right? That's now gotten sales calls completely off my calendar. So my company is still bringing in revenue from Done For You production services. And I theoretically have more bandwidth to focus on like audience building, reputation building. So for me, that would mean being able to create more accessible offers, which is great. And I think that's more like what you're saying. That's more
Yeah.
scalable. But
Exactly.
also there's a thought leadership and a reputation builder in that in audience building. When people think of front runners and people like on the front lines of innovative and strategic podcasting for business, I want Podfox and me specifically to be top of mind when
Mhm.
people think about who's leading the way. I know that I am because I'm getting the results. But if people don't know about that, then you don't have the reputation, right? So for me, that's a big part of it. I do think it will come with more leads for the account managers for production services. I also think we'll have a lot more opportunity for more offers, but there's a reputation building and like establishing my expertise that also really matters to me.
Absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree with you. And just being that voice. And when you know, like, this is why when I was kind of intro to you without like not a direct intro, but Jordan Gill mentioned she had a great conversation with you. And she's another one who like doing business with that integrity and it's like no none of the BS. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's the real stuff that people need to be hearing.
Yeah.
That's who we're the people who need to be the front runners, the ones who are out there like out marketing the marketers, basically like the people who are
Or at
like
least
marketing.
providing an alternative so that when you
Yes.
feel exhausted by all of the bullshit coaching that's out there, there are people who are having real conversations. That's like what Big Brave Business originally even set out to be
Yep.
to begin with me and Amanda talking about. I had a co-host originally for season one to just have real conversations about what it's like to run a business.
Yep.
We need to hear more of those.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so I think that's what's at stake here for us really emphasizing the audience building side of things is making more of those real conversations and real life and realness accessible to people and
Mhm.
getting it in front of them. So it's not just the smoke and mirrors that they're seeing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super intrigued. So I shared, I guess, a little bit about kind of my offers, like what exists now, what I tried last year, and so some things that might kind of look similar. I obviously am happy to share more of kind of what we have ideated, like what's coming. But I'm
Yeah.
curious from your perspective, like with all things stacked in your favor, I think that's how you worded it. Like as you're building this audience, what are your existing offers and how would that evolve for having wider reach?
Oh, this is a great question because I'll answer that in the reverse order. Not much would change about my existing offer suite because I'm obsessed with it. It would just there's one in particular, well, I guess three in particular that I'd be serving a much higher volume in. So right now, I have lots of like little lower ticket things that I run here and there. Been become quite known for hosting paid workshops to scale my own sales process. And so I have workshops and things that are on demand or that I host live on occasion. And then I have like a number of other things that like resources and stuff that go along with those. But if we're talking like my meteor, like you're coming to change something big type of offers, I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. I've got scalable offer accelerator that is focused on you want to go from idea for a scalable offer or not even having an idea for a scalable offer, just knowing I need some scalability in this dang business,
Yeah.
that to scalable offer is now selling, booking out, and you're delivering it. I take you step by step through that entire process. Ideation, naming, description, building out the delivery system for it, selling it. Workshops that work is you want to sell more, you want to get paid to sell more of what you offer. We're going to do it with paid workshops that also help to build deeper trust with your community. Start to finish. You don't even have a workshop idea. We're going to get you a solid workshop topic idea and get it created, promoted, and help you sell on the back end of it. Those are my two, like, really, I'm walking you through every last little detail kind of offers. And then brand new offer that I've never talked about publicly yet. So you're the first to hear about it.
By the time it comes out, we will not be.
There you go. It's called The Space to Scale, and it is really for that business owner who is maxed out in the way that they are doing things and needs to create, you guessed it, the space to scale. So that comes with a mix of potentially building in a scalable offer, but we have to start with restructuring a bit of how we're going about our day to day first and foremost, and how we're like showing up in our business. So there's that component of it. And then there's scalable offers, selling in a more scalable way. There you get me supporting you. And with both of those curriculum-based offers I talked about before, scalable offer accelerator, workshops that work, the space to scale is included as a support component to those. So it kind of serves two purposes, where it's something that I'm going to be able to promote on its own for people who are really looking for that support container that's not quite to the degree my mastermind is, but also it's a great way for me to offer support in those more curriculum-based offers without me having to like have 9 million calls on my schedule.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I have my bread and butter. I call it my soulmate scalable offer, and it is not infinitely scalable. And that's fine. I think there's like kind of scalability just means you're able to serve more people without increasing the amount of cost and time that you're pouring in, right? And that is my Life-Proof Legacy Mastermind. It's an iteration of an offer that I had previously that's worked well for me for years and years. I have clients who've been in there with me for going on 4 years now. It's really, really a powerful space. And that is for the business owner who maybe they have some scalable elements to their business, or maybe they want to work on that, but ultimately they're like, I want my business to be life-proof and fuel my life, not the other way around. And I'm here to leave a legacy, leave a lasting impact in the world that's beyond me. And that's what I want to do in this space, is really refine the offer suite, the positioning, and get my marketing and sales working for me, right? So that can happen. And that's what that space is for. And I'm all up in their business and life.
One of my favorite things, so all of these sound good, but one of the things that I love the most about the way you describe these is that you said, I'm obsessed with my offer suite. So I'm curious, like, what, I guess, for one more question before we do kind of the wrap up question, is what about it makes you obsessed with it? And what is your like best tip for people in creating an offer suite that they feel obsessed with?
So good. So this is like, I can help people create offers they're obsessed with in their sleep. In my sleep is like one of my favorite things to do. I have intentionally designed each one of my offers to support how I like to show up and best serve my clients. And like, not just how I like how I know I can best serve them. So I've set intentional, we can call them boundaries, or we can just call them like the way I operate, that has made it like, there's no part of delivering my offers that drains me. None. It all lights me up. It all makes me excited. So as, for example, Life-Proof Legacy, which is like my bread and butter. I like get so excited about it. We have a Slack community, and I have all of my clients in that program experience get one-to-one Slack DM support from me. I'm not in there all day. I'm in there once a day, Monday through Thursday. They know that. No one's like waiting for answers from me, but I set that up. If I needed to be on call for my brain, that doesn't work as well. My husband's one who can like kind of dabble here and there, and I like to work more in chunks. And so if I set the expectation, like I'll get back to you within an hour or something, that would drain me. But my clients know, like, I'm in there once a day. I might check in at 8 a.m. If you drop me a note at noon, like I'll see it the next day. It's fine. And they appreciate that. They like that. It inspires them. I have a client right now who is a service-based business owner. We're really streamlining her agency services. And she's implemented the same thing with her clients who have her on Voxer because she's like, I'm realizing I'm toggling way too much and it's draining me. So I've set up every single aspect of how I deliver my offers to support my energy and how I'm hardwired for success because I know that's in the highest and best service of my clients.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's something that came up for me immediately because what I really wanted to do, and I think I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, but what I really wanted to do when I started my business, everyone told me because I knew how to podcast and I had kind of dabbled in it as a hobby. And then I had brought it into my 9 to 5 for like 3 years before I actually started my business. And I had been told, like, you should start a podcasting business. And all I kept thinking is like, this just doesn't sound like what lights me up. It doesn't feel like purpose driven. It doesn't feel like that's what like I was put here to do kind of energy. And it was something that I had really struggled with. So I had witnessed and worked with in different roles consultants who had come in to work on like operations or culture building. And I really wanted to do that, honestly. I wanted to be a consultant for especially small businesses, nonprofits, and come in and work with their teams, work with their founders or their C-suite executives on like, what are your 1, 3, and 5 year goals and how do we help you get there and make it fun along the way? I want to help you with that. And depending on the circumstance, a podcast may or may not be part of what I recommend would help them achieve those goals, but it really wasn't what I wanted to be stuck in doing. It's not what my education was in. It's not what my like career had been focused on. It was just a skill that I had. And so I kind of had a lot of hang up in just kind of what felt like selling out and just doing a podcasting business. The reason I ended up niching down to podcasting truly is because even when I was doing that kind of work in the beginning and having those higher level conversations, the thing that was most interesting to people was podcasting because it was new, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't really new. Podcasting's been around for decades, but
Sure.
it felt new. Right. And I think that it ended up being a huge blessing that I niched down to that right before 2020, like in 2019,
Yeah.
because then podcasting blew up. What's interesting about it is in hindsight, I can say, I have such a fun job because I get paid to listen to people's podcasts. Like I get paid to learn from people. So my most exciting client conversations are like, oh my gosh, this is a podcast I can't wait to listen to anyway. Like I would listen to this anyway. How
Yeah.
exciting that now I get to learn from this person and they're paying me to do it. Like that's so cool. I regularly, and my husband works in my business with me, we regularly like pinch ourselves saying like, can you believe we made up this job? Like, this is so cool. I think for me, what worked to love it in hindsight is that I incorporated like mission driven, core value driven branding, like building the offer and the way that I deliver the service. This is what you were saying, right? Like it's not necessarily the offer itself. That's great. But what really makes you obsessed with it is that the delivery and the nature of the offer is built on how you best serve people. So like my mission driven and value driven elements are incorporated every step of the way in how we launch, in how the sales process goes, in how the ongoing service goes. Like it's implemented in every part of the decision making of my business, and that makes me love it.
I 100% like agree. And when you really have, your values and how you're hardwired to show up as your best, you can use all of that as a filter for decision making, and that reduces decision fatigue all on its own. I mean, that's why when my clients come to work with me, I often will ask for, if we were talking about personality assessments before, like what they know about any personality assessments they've taken, I want to know. And not to like limit them, but to say, okay, is this, and also like what's happening in their life circumstances as well, right? Because if I've got a mom of 4 who's a high achieving introvert we're talking about an offer that's going to require her to be on 4 calls every single day, that is definitely going to drain her. So can we restructure things so that it's like 1 call every other day and it's actually a flexible time or something like that, in case 2 of the 4 kiddos get sick at school or whatever it is.
Right.
So there's where, again, the strategy comes in of it all. But also in that scenario, if she's a family first type of business owner. Well, we need to structure the business to truly allow her family to be first.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I say I'm so about like life-proof business is because I say business is my calling, but it's not my everything. Like I have a son, I'm going to have another baby in September,
Hmm.
and it's very exciting and I love it. And also, I've known from a very young age that motherhood was not my end all be all. Like I used to literally when I was like 7 years old, I'd picture myself like going off to work during, I would like pretend in my head when I was going to school that I was like going off to work.
Uh-huh.
And so I know that I need this for me.
Yeah.
And still, I also grew up with a stay-at-home mom who could stop at the drop of a hat to like pick us up at school or whatever. So I wanted to be able to provide that for my kids. And so, but I'm not cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm just not. So some people are, it's not me. And so I needed to have this ability to leave a legacy, but do it in a way that is truly life proof.
Yeah. I love this. Okay, it has been so fun talking to you, and I mean, we're definitely friends now.
Oh yeah.
I am really excited to see how your business continues to grow and evolve and to watch your audience grow. That'll be fun to
I
be part of
know.
that. And just to continue to stay in touch. Obviously, you're gonna have to come back in season 3, and because that's starting soon, we're pivoting to group conversations.
Ooh,
So
fun.
like 3 to 5 of us kind of answering a question together. And I feel like it's gonna be like a mini mind every podcast episode. I'm like so excited. I feel
That's
like
a
it's
really cool
like,
idea.
thank you. It's, you know what? It's what I want to be part of. So I'm doing it, which really feeds into everything we were just talking about.
Yep.
So you'll definitely have to come back and be part of more conversations. And I always like to end all of the podcast episodes with the same kind of question, which is it doesn't have to be work related, but it absolutely can be. What is something that is making you happy right now?
I mean, it's making me happy right now. Okay. I'm gonna go non-work related. Okay. Can I do two? They're kind
Yeah.
of like I'm gonna do two silly ones that are just like very mundane everyday things, but
Okay.
it's just my life right now. So I have a 2-year-old and he's doing this thing right now that if he'll come home and he talks a lot. Like I was a big talker when I was little too. I still am, obviously, but he talks a lot. And he'll start telling me about his day and I'll like go to ask him a question. He's like, "No, stop talking. I'm trying to talk to you." And this has been a new thing in the past couple of days and it just absolutely cracks me up. And I'm like, "Okay, dude, what do you like? Thank you. I birthed another white man who's mansplaining, but we'll work on it.
The
We'll work
floor is
on it."
yours by all
Oh,
means.
he's very sweet. I'll tell him that he's very sweet. But yeah, I'm like, all right, well, we need to work on everybody gets their turn to talk, man. And then fruit popsicles from Trader Joe's because I'm 8 weeks pregnant and it's like the only thing that tastes good.
Oh, that's so interesting. Also, like we're recording this in January, not a normal popsicle season, but
No, no.
you and I are also both in areas that are like skewed for winter. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in Phoenix, so
Yeah.
it's yeah, we get fake winter, but
So
it's
your
really
your
funny if
feet
it's not.
melt in the summertime there.
Yes, yeah, everything melts. So, okay, I love both of those. I would say what's making me happy right now, so again, we're recording this in January, so there will be so many other cool things that I've done since then, but something really cool that I did yesterday, I think, or the day before, I think it was yesterday, was in ChatGPT. I saw a prompt on social media that looked interesting, which most of the time I think like when people are like, oh, ask ChatGPT this, it'll blow your mind. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Sometimes I think they're interesting to like scroll through the comments and see what other people's experiences were. That's
Mhm.
interesting, but I don't feel called to do it. But this one got my attention. So it was, and it's going to feel very January-y, but you could do it anytime. So it was entering in, this is my job, this is how many kids I have. These are some of my goals. Make me a year plan for achieving those goals with monthly milestones and week by week action items. And so I put it in, I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. So I put it in, and to be honest, like at first, I liked it, but I wasn't like, I was like, this needs some massaging. So I have learned a lot, by the way, recently about ChatGPT in general. And so just a tip, like one thing that always increases your result or improves your results in ChatGPT is to say, what else do you need before you give me an
Mhm.
answer? What else do you need to know? Or ask me, one prompt that I've heard people say is like, ask me 3 clarifying questions before you answer. I like to just say open ended, like, what information do you need from me? What would be helpful for you to help me like with this task? And also don't overwhelm me. Ask me one by one, like I'm like you're a person. Like I can't answer 12
Oh
questions
yeah,
at the same
yeah.
time. But it's good at that. And then it'll be like when you feel like you have enough information to give me like an accurate. So anyway, so we did that. We went back and forth. I gave it a ton of information. And then there were things that I was like, okay, but I don't necessarily understand what XYZ task means. Can we like fix that? And then I was like, okay, also, it's not just me trying to achieve these goals. I ended up switching it just to business, not personal, but I was like, I also have a team. So these are the different people on my team. These are their roles. This is how many hours each of us kind of has to
Yeah.
work toward these goals per week. So, based on that, can you regenerate these weekly tasks? And can you assign them to specific people? Tell me who's responsible for that and about how many hours they should spend that week to do it. And why does it matter? How will we know if this is actually serving us toward our larger goals? So there's also like,
Yeah.
what is this working toward? And then I was like, I also want this to be something that's like really usable. So can you populate it in a table so that I can put it in a Google Doc with checkboxes, right? So, and I've seen people say like they're putting it in Notion or whatever as well.
Sure.
So there's lots of ways you can do it. But I did a Google Doc. Anyways, it's so great. So now I have tabs on a Google Doc for each quarter and
Mhm.
with week by week goals and another tab for milestones for each quarter. And ChatGPT generated the whole thing. So we're going to
Wait,
see. I have a very high revenue goal. So I'm going to see if it helps me actually get there. Stay tuned.
I don't know if you can see my face as you were saying that whole thing because I literally just hosted a workshop on Tuesday called Your Life-Proof Year. And what I did was walk people through a process to use ChatGPT to, well, first they identified like their bigger picture outcomes for both their business and life.
Yeah,
And then we used ChatGPT to create a monthly roadmap
there you go.
that incorporated both their business and life milestones and how they want to feel throughout. Then created identified one
Well,
mindset.
I didn't say how I want to feel throughout. I did plug in my vacations though.
I'll send you the workshop replay, like and the worksheet that goes with it because you can also I had mine identify also one limiting belief I currently have that I need to shift in order to actually like move through those things and then flip it, give me the more empowering belief. And so in the worksheet that I've created that everyone went through in my workshop, that new empowering belief is at the top, as well as an overarching intention statement for the entire year. And we identified a 1% shift they need to make in their day to day to actually have the space necessary to like do the new things that are available that are wrapped out
I
in the roadmap.
love that. It blows. Okay, this is the stuff that I'm like, okay, ChatGPT is amazing. Like asking it to like, I don't know, populate a picture of what it thinks your office looks like, not interesting to me.
Right.
Asking
No.
it, even honestly, asking it to generate like interesting recipes, not interesting to me. We have so
No.
many resources to get good recipes. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm also struggling with making the same things, having limited time, having a limited budget, having like specific dietary needs for accommodating all the people in your house. Of course, I still have all those things too, but there's so many resources out there for that kind of thing.
Yes.
That doesn't interest me. What interests me is this stuff where it's like, ooh, I have
Yeah.
like,
This would have
we
taken me
have
a full day hunkered down in a hotel room or 2 days to come up with myself. And I can just look at it, go, okay, tweak this, that, and the other thing. And an hour and a half later, I have a full freaking plan for the year and a personal development plan to improve my mindset so that I can actually hold the space for it. And then, like, it's amazing.
it's so good. So yeah, anyways, I'm really excited about this and it's making me really happy. Now it's just going to sit in one of the tabs that I leave open like a Google Calendar and
Yep.
my spreadsheet and my like task management system, my inbox, like those are tabs that are just always open on
Mhm.
my computer. So I'm adding it. It's so now that
That's exactly what I've done with mine.
perfect. Okay, well, I'm excited to see how it ends up like working out for you. Also excited to see how it ends up working out for me, how much we stick to it. I'm also intrigued by that. Like, so much of my like kind of best laid plans
Mhm.
end up changing. That's part of the reason why I laid mine out by quarter on different
Yep.
tasks. I'm like, I could regenerate one of those quarters easily.
Easily.
But yeah,
Yes.
I'm
Word up.
so interested. The limiting beliefs is a great one. And then also, how do you want it to make you feel? Those are really good, really, really good
They're
prompts.
important. I mean, that's like related to like everything I do too, right? Because if we're accomplishing these goals, but we feel like crap doing it, like what's the point?
Yeah.
That's we need to feel good and feel how we want to feel, empowered. And yes, we're all gonna have down days, but ultimately, if we've made sure we're setting ourselves up to feel the way we want to feel, like it's a whole lot more likely that we're actually gonna feel that way.
Ooh, this is so good. Okay. I love this. Love talking to you. We're definitely friends now. This is very fun. And you have to come back. And thank you for being here. And of course, if you want to connect with either one of us, and I mean, you got to get in not only in being in AnnMarie's audience, because now you know that is what
I
she's
like
focused
calling it a community more. Doesn't that
a
feel,
community.
it
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah. But okay, yes. If you want to know her and you want her to know you. And also, listen to these kind of workshops that she's doing. Like you can't miss that. So her information is definitely going to be in the description of the episode, of course, mine as well. And thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.